Well, how's it going, folks? I hope you're all doing really good. Well, today we're going to take a look at this old peavey classic amplifier, 212s. It has a tremolo circuit in it, which actually sounds quite nice. I've had this amp for a few years. I bought this at a pawn shop along with another 212 peavey VTX Heritage series, which is another great amp. These are hybrid amps. They have a solid state pre and a tube output. This has two 6L6s, if I remember right, for the output. And the VTX is, I believe there's four in tubes for the output. I think this one's 50 watts and the VTX is 130. A lot of air movement from these amplifiers, I must say. They're quite loud. Let's take a look at the panel real quick. Okay, so you got four inputs here: bright, series parallel, and normal. And your basic tone stack here. It does have a master volume as well and a tremolo circuit. Now, a way to kind of date these is by these knobs that have the black center in them. Now, I'm missing that one, but I probably have something that I can replace it with. I paid 120 bucks a piece for the amplifiers when I bought them. They weren't really clean. I did a lot of cleaning. This one's got some dust on it from being in the shop, but I did put some wheel kits on them, and I really like the sound of both of them, actually. Okay, here's the back. Let's just take a peek here. We got the fuse, on and off power, and the speakers. Yeah, there's two outputs for the speakers. I think that's 50 watts. Okay, and it's 4 ohm. Okay, so you got the foot switch control there as well. And here's some technical stuff there. And these are peavey stamp speakers, but I believe these are Eminence. Kind of different with a square magnet. We do have a wire off one of these speakers. I'm guessing it's this one. Take a peek at that too. And these are 6L6 tubes. All right, I'm going to pull the tubes out and take a look at them. There you have it, 6L6s. They don't look bad. I think these could be original, but the original tubes would have been stamped peavey. It may have got rubbed off. If I remember right, on the VTX amp I own, they actually say peavey on them, and they were also known to last quite a long time. Okay, so I just removed the handle. I want to be able to give it a good cleaning here when I get done. So what we're doing right now is loosening up these screws that hold the amp chassis in there. I'm going to take those right out in a second. Good old peavey. I started out with peavey. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably did too, some of you. Peavey Bandit 65, and man, I can't really remember some of the other ones, but I've owned a bunch of them over the years, and really good stuff, really durable. These things just keep taking a beating and keep on going. All right, let's get them out. Peavey did make some all-tube amps back in the day too, like the Mace and the Deuce. One of those was used on the Leonard Skinner recordings, excuse me. Those guys were playing peavey. A lot of guys in Nashville played peavey back then too. Special 130s, and you know, a lot of steel players used these amps. They were just well made. Okay, we got the chassis out. We got it sitting on the bench here. Now, as you can see, it's a circuit board, which is pretty early, but wasn't anything out of hand for that time. People were starting to do that stuff, so don't be sticking your hands in here, okay? Unless you know what you're doing, and never use anything but a piece of wood or a piece of plastic like this drink stirrer I have here. If you're poking around in there, you can see the back sides of the tube sockets here because there's two tubes. Now, another thing, like these right here, that's the back side of a bunch of capacitors, which is this silver thing and this blue thing you see here. There's a bunch of capacitors in there. And, you know, some of the stuff can be 800 volts. Can really light your day up. Okay, so we've got the chassis flipped right over here. Now remember, I said this had reverb. Now what you're looking at is the bottom side of this chassis, which, if this was flipped over, this would be underneath, and the top of the amp would be this face, okay? So, you know, a lot of times they put the tank down in the bottom of the amp cabinet. I've seen this too, where people put the reverb tank up under the amp. You know, as long as it works, a lot of times the reverbs and amplifiers just don't do it for me anyway, so I use a pedal, but this one was not working, so we're going to take a peek at that too. Okay, so here's the pots. I need to get my spray nozzle in these little notches, these little openings on the pot, so that way I can get some cleaner inside there. It's kind of tricky, really, to get it in there, and there's not a lot of other options to do it, so we'll make do. Now, I can't just take these out because these are circuit board pots, so they're mounted to the circuit board here. You got to pull the whole thing out to do it. Okay, so this is what I'm using today, Permatex electrical contact cleaner. You know, I could be using something different the next day. I like neutral. The Oxid's good. It's expensive, but it does work good. Max is another good electronic cleaner I used often, which I get at a local auto parts store, Napa specifically. Alright, now I'm just going down through and trying to get some spray in these. And I'm going to go back through and spray each one and roll it with my fingers. But I'm just trying to get some cleaner in these real quick. Now sometimes you have to take the knob off and try to get it in from the front too, which is not that easy or fun, but okay. So let's start right here on this first one. I'm going to have to kind of tip this up to do it. All right. Roll that around a little bit. Well, they don't feel bad anyway, but they were scratchy, so hopefully this helps. These circuit board pots are a real pain to change too, in my opinion, but it can be done. Certainly easy to manufacture it this way, I'm sure. There we go. I may try to get them from the front too. Like I said, it's tricky sometimes to just get the spray in there, so in cases like that, I'll do both. I'll try to get some in the, sorry folks, try to get some in the pot, you know, from the back side if I can. Now that was sticky. That loosened it up. I can tell it's getting in there. That one don't feel too bad, but there are downfalls to having circuit board amps. That one felt pretty sticky too. It's definitely loosening them up. They feel a lot smoother. I don't feel any indents or bad spots on them either, so I'm really not sure how much this amp was played. It was just dusty, so somebody wasn't playing it when I bought it, like you said. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the knobs off. These are just a flathead screw. Really small, but they're coming off nice and easy. And this will give me a chance to get some cleaner in here from the top side. Whoop. And I'll have to see if I got a black center replacement on that one knob. And these look like old custom amplifier knobs. How do I know? Well, I bought 2,000 of them off some guy on eBay a few years ago. They were actually new old stock amps that went to, custom amplifiers with a K. The old tuck and rolled ones, So if anybody needs any custom knobs for their amp, light me up. I'll hook you up for sure. It was just a good deal. He said I bought 2,000 of them for like, I don't know, $30 maybe. Pretty reasonable. Okay, well, that does give us some access. So what I'm going to do is just spray right around the shaft here, okay? See if we can get that, work some of that in. That feels a little stiff, but some of these electronic sprays will have a little bit of lubricant in them too. Mutron is one that comes to mind, which I don't have any right now. I gotta order some more. I mean, this isn't always an option, but I just want to try to make sure I get these clean while I have the chassis out. I don't want to have to pull it back out because they're still scratchy now. The amount of dust that was on this amplifier, I may not get all that scratchiness out of them, but we hope so. Well, that master volume part's a little stiff, so I'm going to spend a few more minutes on this one. There it goes, it's starting to loosen up nice now. Alright, that's about as good as I can do. The rest of these feel nice and smooth. The Reverb one could probably use a little more too. There we go. Might as well run down through them all. Okay, let's see if we can figure this reverb out. I could hear a spring bouncing around when I was cleaning there. There's 4 lock nuts that you have to take off to get this out. And you unplug these 2 wires, which is basically just an RCA cord. And okay, let's take a peek. Okay, well, everything looks okay. I mean, the springs are not unhooked. You got these little stabilizer springs on the side. You got to make sure those are hooked up. And your 2 main springs, obviously. Well, I think I'll spray the RCA jacks and get them cleaned up at least. Just so I can rule that out if it doesn't work. Okay. I apologize for the shadows here in the video. The sun's just coming up and around here, so it's kind of peeking in the shop. Okay, so I'm just going to look at all the connections here and make sure there's no wires off. Everything looks okay. Small cloth wire. I'm going to check those solder joints out too. You know, it isn't even a bad idea just to reflow them. Sometimes they can just break connection over the years, so I'm going to do what I can with this just to make sure I've eliminated all the guesswork. So you can check the continuity too with your multimeter to make sure it's not a break in the wire or anything too. So you just put, either red or black on one side and touch it to the terminal where it's being hooked to, connected to. See if you've got continuity going through the wire. I think this is okay. It may have been that pot that was sticking, because that reverb pot didn't feel that loose to me. It felt like it was, kind of sticky, which makes sense. If whoever owned this from day one, either they used the reverb or didn't, the knob probably stayed right where they liked it, and that's where it stayed until I got a hold of it. Okay, so that all checked out good. Now, one last thing you want to check here is where the reverb tank sits on these 4 studs, okay? Now, there's usually a rubber, or it could even be a piece of felt, usually rubber. And that keeps the vibrations from coming through the speakers and everything and making the springs rattle. I've had to replace these on some amplifiers before. The reverb would work, but when you turn the volume up a little bit and the speakers started to vibrate, it would really just squeal nonstop until you turn the reverb off. So that's something to look for. And the peavey amplifiers with the tank in the bottom of the amp chassis, is something that I would definitely check. If you have an old peavey with a tank in the floor, Roland Jazz Chorus, I think mine had the same kind of setup, if I remember right, and the rubbers were just gone. So, when you get to that point, you just got metal to metal. Any vibration that's happening in the amplifier is going to mess around with this. Okay, so we got the tank back in. Little trick, you got to tip the tank to get it to line up on these 2 front studs. The transformer is pretty close to it, so it just takes a little finesse and finagling, but it will go on there. Now, one thing you do want to pay attention to is this. Where the tank bolts to these 4 studs here, you want to make sure that's centered in the hole. You don't want the metal touching the stud that it's being bolted to. Again, it's just all about transferring vibration and unwanted noise that will happen. So that's why they put the rubber there. And, you're going to cinch it down. I do realize the nut's going to touch this metal, but it's better to sandwich it all together and have that centered. Okie doke, so here's that cord that we looked at, in the beginning of the video. This is your speaker output jack, and this was hooked to the speaker on the right if you're facing it from the back. I tied a loop in this one because it was on the bottom terminal, and this one was on the top. Now, as you can see, maybe you can, we get a loose wire here in this little spade connector, so I'm going to solder that up right now and get that hooked in. That was something that I didn't notice before when I first took the amp in. Might as well hit them both, right? Okay, so I got a piece of aluminum plate I had laying around the shop. It's got a hole in it, so I stuck the wire up through it to hold it while I solder it. So let's get to it. Well, that must be pretty close. Let's take a peek. Okay, we're going to put a little bit more on this side here. All right, let's do the other one. That one's all done, so I'm going to put a little bit of flux on here, soldering flux, just because it's kind of dirty and oxidized. Hopefully this will just help the solder kind of flow a little better. Oh, my solder's getting kind of short here, so no, that doesn't want to stick at all. Alrighty, we got it all back together. I got to do the knobs next and get those on, and we should be in good shape. Okay, so remember we had one knob that was missing the black center there. I got one here that's kind of curling up too. Maybe we hit that with a little bit of glue. So remember I was saying these look a lot like custom with a K amplifier knobs. Well, they're pretty handy. I bought 2,000 of these on eBay, okay? Now some of the centers, the glue is failing on them, but so I got plenty of knobs, you know, if you guys are hurting, let me know. Anyway, what I did is, this is one of those knobs. It's got the same kind of slots cut into the knob, and it just so happens that the center here is the same diameter. So what I did is I took a center off one of these knobs and painted it black. Now I'll put it on there and we can super glue it all in. I'll just show you what it looks like for the fitment. Perfect. I mean, you don't get any better than that. It fits perfect. It's a little shinier than the original, so I may kind of dull that down. I just put it over on the master volume and leave it like that. Alright, let's put a little shot of super glue on. Well, that come out really quick. That ought to do it. And I'm just going to kind of roll that around a little bit, just to spread it out some so it doesn't just flow out over the side here. Okay, let's set that right in there. There we go. Just going to push on it lightly there, and we'll let that dry. While we're at it, we might as well fix this one too. This one's seen better days. That ought to do it. Push that right down and hold it. Okay, I'm just using the super glue cap here to kind of push this one back down where it was curled up. Work that right around tight, right into the edge. I think that's going to do it. Alright, well, good to know. If I end up losing any of these original centers, or if you guys lose any, I have, I don't know, 1,900 odd knobs here. So anyway, folks, that'll take care of that. So as you can see, they are quite similar. Now these ones take a flathead screwdriver to take off. These ones just push on and off, but I mean, I can still use the knob. You can clean the glue right out of there pretty easy, and off you go. All right, well, we got her all back together. Cleaned it up with some of this amp and case stuff. It works really good, actually. And there's the brand Music Nomad. I got to get some more of that. But it did clean it up really nice. It holds a nice shine. So I was doing a little bit more research on this since I've been shooting this video in segments over the past couple days. And I found out that they made some tweed versions of this with the tweed covering. And I guess those are quite rare. I also saw one. The guy said it was a real thing, but it had silver face grill cloth, and it didn't have the brushed aluminum side panels, which all peaveys basically did. And that was a neat looking amp as well. And it did have the same layout and everything, and the 4 inputs. We're going to plug this up right now and see what it sounds like. Now this is kind of different. I forgot how this actually worked, and the reverb is still not working, but it is doing something. I'll show you in a minute. But you have this bright, series, parallel, and normal. So on this parallel side, if you plug into there, you have a master. Well, we have a master volume down here, but you have the bright channel and the normal channel volumes here, okay? And in this parallel setting, you can actually run both, and it gives you an overdrive circuit, and it sounds like a fuzz circuit to me. We'll see what you guys think, so let's see what it sounds like. Okay, we turned her on. Let's let it warm up a second here and see what we got. All right, so I'm plugged into the normal channel. I'm going to turn that bright volume down. And this is the normal volume here. We're going to turn the master up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, now the bass is on about 6 or so, the mids maybe 5, and the treble's on about 4, 3.5, 4. Okay, so, and I have the master on, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, and the normal's about halfway, okay? So we're plugged into the normal channel. Now when I turn the reverb, it kind of dulls it down when you roll it back. So it's almost acting like a tone control, a very weak tone control, but I don't know if you guys can pick that up on camera. Let's check out the tremolo. Got a little scratch there, but nothing compared to what it was. These were all scratchy, so. That's all the way on 10 on the speed. And that just, the depth brings it into the mix or out of the mix of your guitar. Really useful though. Slow it down a bit. Alright, so I'm going to turn that off. Now let's plug into the parallel side here. Okay, so now we can run the bright volume knob and the normal one. So let's bring that bright one in. I'm going to turn this normal down a little bit. We should hear this starting to get dirty. Really loud. I'm going to turn the master down a little bit, folks. See what I mean? It's got that fuzz, fizzle thing going on. And you can kind of blend that in and out by just using these knobs. It acts like a
a fuzz circuit to me, especially on the bass notes. It doesn't really know how to handle them, so it gets that kind of Velcro sound. You know, that kind of thing. So there's that. It's kind of neat. Like I said, you can bring just a little of that in if you want. And then, of course, turn your master up, and there's a lot of sounds right there, honestly. Okay, so I'm going to turn these down because I don't know what this is going to do in series. All right, let's see what we got in series. Okay, so basically from what I can see already, I was using this bright knob for the gain or the fuzz effect when I was plugged into the parallel. Now that I'm plugged into series, they've kind of like flip-flopped here. So it's kind of it's different though, I will say that. I can hear more of the guitar tone coming through versus the overdrive tone. So again, you have all that sweep in either knob to get that tone. All right, let's just go right to the bright. So the normal shouldn't do anything, which it doesn't. Turn the bright up. I want to try this. I'm going to dime the bright channel and just crack the master and see if we get any sort of overdrive. Oh yeah. I'm going to roll my volume down on my guitar and see if it cleans up. It sure does. So, wide open. So that's a lot like a fuzz pedal, and I'm guessing it must be some sort of a transistor thing in there. I'm not sure if they're using clipping diodes or if it's just overdriving each channel, you know, just flipping that around, you know what I mean, like we just discussed. So the reverb, I'm going to look into that a little more. Everything looked good in there. It could be some sort of a oscillator or whatever that needs replacing. I'm not sure. I got to dig a little deeper into it, but I am going to look into possibly getting a foot switch, because the foot switch would work with this amp and the VTX Heritage amp I have, and that would be useful. At least I'd have one. I could, you know, I'm probably not going to play them at the same time, but you never know. But that may actually make the reverb work. I'm not sure about that. This has got like those 8-pin things where you plug in the back, but so the bright channel's a little different. I'm going to go back to normal. I got to get this normal volume turned up. So I'm just going to mess with this reverb for a second. So when you turn the reverb on 10, it's like taking some of the highs off it a little bit. And then when you roll it all the way back to 1, you get the highs. And it's like cutting the bass signal out. You know, I don't hate it. I use reverb pedals anyway, so I would like to hear what it sounds like, though, for, you know, for what it is. But in any case, these are a really neat amp. I will say that. Here's another thing. My volume is on 10 on my guitar. I mean, I can hear just a whisper of hiss, and that's it. We're sitting, you know, right in front of a shop light here in the shop, so it's quite quiet, and that may be from the, you know, solid state input. Again, this is a hybrid solid state input, and it's got two 6L6 output tubes, somewhere around 50 watts. It's very loud, I will say that. One thing I will mention about this too, versus like a Fender Twin or the VTX Heritage amp I have, which is also a peavey 212, or the renowned 400s, those are all quite heavy. This is not that heavy. This honestly feels like you're carrying like a 112 combo tube amp, all tube, you know. It's not super heavy. I got it on wheels, so that's always a plus too. Well, folks, there it is. I'm going to clean a bunch of my amps up. I have some in the studio that are getting scratchy, so maybe we'll dig out the other peavey next and go through that one. I wish I could play a little more, but I got this big nub on my ring finger here. I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of painful, and it's also making my finger really stiff, so playing certain chords and grips is kind of bothering me. Hopefully that comes out of it. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, folks. We'll dig out another one here soon, and I'll see you with my nub. Okay, have a good one. Be good. Okie doke.